What's up, everybody? I'm Chase Lee reporting for DallasMovieScreenings.com, and I got another movie to review for you guys, and that would be The Oath. Now, this one comes from Roadside Attractions, and this one is written and directed by Ike Barinholtz. Yes, that Ike Barinholtz. And a quick little story. When I was a teenager, I would watch Mad TV all the time, and I never would have thought that group of people would be where they're at today. I always liked them. I always liked the show, but since they changed out the cast so randomly and they canceled the show, I was like, oh, wow, this is going to be a stink on their resume. But no, you get Jordan Peele winning an Oscar, you got Keegan-Michael Key keeping busy, Alex Bornstein keeping busy, and then, of course, now you got Ike Barinholtz, who has always been a really funny guy. But as of, the past, few years, maybe 2015, 2014, he's starting to show up in a lot more comedies and really showing people he's one of the fastest and wittiest minds in the comedy business. Now, I've always liked Ike as a actor, and he's always written a couple of things, but this is his directorial debut, The Oath, and this one tells the story of a family played by Ike Barinholtz and Tiffany Haddish. They're a married couple, and they have Ike's family coming over for Thanksgiving dinner. Now, the fantasy kind of spin on this world that they're in is that the oath is a thing that the president has thrown out there, and they basically say, you can sign this oath, nothing affects anything, nothing's going to happen, but if you want to pledge your allegiance to the president, you can do that. Now, of course, they're not really mentioning who the president is. It's Trump. But, I mean, that's the parallel to our world, but, that's kind of the premise. So, of course, when everyone comes over for Thanksgiving dinner, Ike is just like, did you sign the oath? Did you sign the oath? And then, of course, that causes squabbles, and it turns into a very, very, very dark comedy. So, I was looking forward to this movie because I like Ike Barinholtz quite a bit, and I wanted to see what he would do for his directorial debut. And, the trailer has actually won me over. I know a lot of people didn't really win over, but I was actually impressed by the trailer. I was like, this is going to be bonkers. I can't wait to see where he goes with it. So I saw the movie. I like it, but I have a reservation on it. So let me explain. So let me get real and break this down because this is gonna be kind of tricky. Ike Barinholtz, when you want to direct a movie, I understand that you want to keep it minimal. You want to keep it kind of enclosed and on basically one set the entire time. It causes you more freedom to kind of wrangle in your characters and the dialogue and make us really focus on the story and the acting and really see what you are all about as a director from a performance standpoint and also a story standpoint. Because if you can make a movie that compelling relatively in one location, you did a pretty great job as a director. So I think Ike did the best thing he could in terms of doing a first directorial debut with this type of story. Here is the reservation, caveat, what have you. I follow Ike on Twitter, and I would actually say that, for the most part, I am on the same side with him in terms of politics. I realize that in this movie, he has caricatures of people on the right and people on the left. They're both there. What I will say is that Ike is the main character, correct? And so I figure he would write himself in a way to where he is the hero, there's nothing wrong. And in a way, he kind of made himself look like the villain a little bit and kind of a D-bag. So there's that. But I think the biggest issue with this movie is that Ike's character is just hammering on the politics of his side. And just hammering and hammering. That when he was with his family and there were squabbles back and forth from both sides, it got exhausting to listen to. And it actually made the movie extremely slow and just drew it out into this prolonged Facebook, Twitter argument that I did not want to see. It's not to say I wasn't engaged, because I was. I was like, where's the story going? But there were several scenes in this movie where it kept going. And I was like, Ike, I understand you, buddy, but this is getting really tiring to listen to. And it's just, it was one of those things that just, it would halt the movie severely, and then also just drag it out, and it just got exhausting to listen to, and it's just over and over and over again. Everyone just was just yelling at each other. It was just a yelling match. It was like watching your Facebook comments if you post up anything political. It's crazy. So it doesn't matter which side you're on. I identify more with what Ike's ideology is. I still think it was too much. It was way too much. It got just overbearing and too abrasive for me, to where I was like, you need to calm that down. And even at some points, he made himself look like a villain. So, to be honest with you, I have no idea who this movie was for, who you were trying to side with, who you were going against. And ultimately, at the very end, it really didn't mean anything. It was just kind of like, okay, cool. But I will say, setting that aside, I thought he did create a pretty interesting kind of fantasy dark comedy concept, and really takes it to like the nth degree in terms of violence and just over-the-top comedy with violence included. I mean, it really does go absurd, but that's kind of the whole point, is to kind of just push this like fantasy kind of comedy a little bit. And that's where the entertainment kind of comes through. I was entertained from start to finish, even though it got tiring at some points, and I wanted to see how crazy it could get and where it just kind of like would one-up each other each scene. And I don't know. I was in it through the whole thing, and so I think as a dark comedy, I think it definitely works. Having comedy that is sometimes sharp, sometimes over the top, sometimes involved with bloody violence, but also poking out themes and, you know, relevancies to today's times, and that's how you can kind of connect with this. Like, okay, I can actually kind of see this happening. If this may go down or whatever, but overall, it's still a fantasy type of movie, and so you can obviously draw the parallels, but it's still ridiculous and over the top, and I kind of enjoyed that. The performances are actually great. I think Ike Barinholtz is very underrated as an actor in general. No one really gives him too much props. In terms of his acting talent, he is a funny dude, but he's also got the dramatic weight that you would need for this type of performance, to where if you were to dip down, into like a really serious scene, he'd be able to pull it off. And I think he did. But the show stealer for me was Tiffany Haddish. She was wonderful. A lot of people will just be like, it's Tiffany Haddish. She's just nothing but a funny person, just makes raunchy lines. It's like, no, like she's actually got some range on her as well, and this actually proved that she's got some dramatic weight to her, showing her capabilities as an actress, and it makes me excited for anything that she does beyond comedies in her future. So there's that. The gentleman that played Ike's brother in the movies, his brother in real life, he was hilarious. I loved everything that came out of his mouth. A couple surprise characters pop up in the mix that kind of go along with the plot, so I didn't really want to bring it up in case you want to be surprised, I guess, because I didn't know this person was in it. I kind of did, but then I forgot, and I was like, where's this person at? And then, well, bam. They were also a great addition. I think overall, for a dialogue-dense movie, I thought the performances were, pretty entertaining for the most part, and a couple of them caught me off guard in terms of just how good they were, whether they be Tiffany Haddish and Ike Barinholtz's kind of more dramatic side, or a certain character's like anger and fear and frustrations, and the pure kind of like evilness in this guy's eyes versus like this person who is somewhat sympathetic, but also likes to argue with Ike a lot. I don't know. It was just a bunch of different personalities on screen. I thought they worked out pretty well. Visually, it's not really anything to write home about. Once again, it's a directorial debut. I think what Ike did was the best, which was make a dialogue-dense script, more character-driven, more story-driven, and I was compelled that way, so I didn't really care about the visual look because it took place all mainly in a house. And that's about it. I mean, it's got a pretty well pace to it. If you like these type of movies, if you don't like dark comedies, stay away from this one. If you really don't like political movies, whether you're on the right, left, or even center, or just don't like people yelling at you with politics in movies, you probably won't like this one. I'm not calling anyone out. I'm just calling it like it is. A lot of people do not like this stuff, and they will walk out. I'm just warning you. But besides like some halting moments with the abrasiveness, I still think it was a brisk movie, and it was just one of those weird times at the movies where I was like, you know what? This might have been crazy and over the top, but I had fun with it despite its problems. So I'm going to give The Oath a B-. So what did you guys think of The Oath, or have you even heard of it? Comment that places right below my face and let me know. And now we'll do it for this review. I'm Chase Lee, guys, reporting for DallasMovieScreenings.com. And tune in next time for whatever I review next. I will see you guys later.